Here at Big 550 KTRS, good friend of the show, Stuart from Stuart's American Mortgage, joins us. Good morning, Stuart.
Good morning, McGraw. How are you?
We should also say you're a host of Mortgages and More, which is a fantastic name for a show, and that airs on the weekend.
Every Sunday, 2 o'clock.
Sunday, 2 o'clock. So you want any information on mortgages and more, Sunday, 2 o'clock here on the Big 550 KTRS, you and your lovely wife. Now, you're a mortgage broker. You've been in the business 20-plus years. Lots going on today. Break it all down for us.
Well, this actually goes back a little bit, back to December when the Federal Reserve met and decided to raise the rates about 0.25%, and they threatened to continue to do that.
Right.
Since December, they've had mixed reports as to what's happening with the economy, so they haven't been that anxious to go ahead and raise it again.
Right.
So at first, they said they're not going to raise it. Then they got upset with everybody that the perception was that they weren't going to raise it and said they were going to raise it.
Right.
Then all of a sudden, we're in a situation now, today, where the Federal Reserve is meeting and giving their report on the economy and kind of announcing whether or not they're going to raise those interest rates in the near future or not. And that's happening at 1 o'clock our time. 2 o'clock, 1:30 our time is when Janet Yellen's going to be talking about what took place during the meeting.
Right, and the last week or so, they've had some reports out that haven't been great when it comes to the economy.
That's right. Well, originally, the last month or so, Janet has been saying, yes, we're going to raise those interest rates, but all of a sudden, the employment reports for the month of May are the worst since September of 2010.
Right.
So you've got this report on the one hand where employment isn't as strong. You got Janet saying, well, it's 1 month bad, but the rest of the year wasn't as bad. You've got inflation that they wanted to go up to hit their 2% target, but it's not going as high or as quick as they want to do.
Right.
And they're very, very fearful of what's going to happen on June 23rd.
June 23rd being, of course, the vote in Europe.
The vote in Europe. That's the famous Brexit, which Britain wants to, that's the term that they use. Britain wants to consider leaving the EU.
Now, you're a mortgage broker, so you follow this stuff very closely. I don't know if Americans have an opinion one way or the other, but the markets don't like uncertainty.
Well,
and that's what they're most upset over.
Right. Like it or not, our economy is a worldwide economy. We're not just based on what happens here in the United States.
Right.
So if there's a lot of volatility in Europe, like Britain leaving the EU would cause all kinds of volatility in the markets, that's going to cause instability. Stock market's going to go down and crash. We don't want to say crash, but go down, and all of a sudden interest rates are going to plummet again.
Okay, so what does that mean for the person listening who wants to refinance their house, buy their house, take some money out of their house?
Okay, so if Janet Yellen goes ahead today, says that they anticipate that rate hike to occur in the future, however, she used the words uncertainty, so she leaves it open for a July rate increase. I don't think they're going to do anything for June, but July increase.
Right.
And if Great Britain decides not to leave the EU, which is going to continue a stable environment in Europe, you're going to start to see interest rates creep up.
Okay.
So the opportunity there could be very limited to refinance and take advantage of the rates that we have here today.
Okay, but if you really want a low interest rate, like really low, you want pure chaos.
Well, you want pure chaos, but what we tell everybody all the time is a bird in the hand is better than two in the bush.
Right.
Take advantage of the rate that you have now. If rates go down within 6 months or even after that, especially with the bagel loan where there's no closing costs at all, we can always go ahead and refinance you again and lower the rates again. You
pride yourself, Stuart, at Stuart's American Mortgage at being very open and very honest about interest rates and fees and all that type of stuff. You don't necessarily quote rates because they change on a lot of different factors.
Well, they change every minute. They change based on your credit. They change based on your particular financial needs. So a person that gets a cash out loan is different than a person that gets a rate in term.
Right.
If your credit score is going to be 650, it's going to be a different rate than if it's 780. If you're borrowing 60% of the value of the property, it's different than 80%. So it's a big, big mistake in the public's view, in my view, for the public, is when they're trying to compare rates between mortgage institutions, you're not comparing apples and apples. It's your specific situation. Not only that, but what is right for you and getting the proper advice you're not going to get by comparing rates from one institution to the next. So you have to have somebody with like myself that has 20, 30 years experience that'll
Right.
be able to direct you which way to go.
You mentioned zero closing costs, the bagel loan. We joke about it all the time, but you don't charge any fees, which you've told us you've seen people who've been charged $6,000, $7,000, $8,000, $9,000 just in fees alone.
Not only do we not charge the fees, there are no title fees, there are no lender fees, there's no appraisal fee at the end of the day. Nothing, zero. That's what we call it, the big bagel.
I have told people have told me that when they hear that, they are awful suspicious. They should be, right?
They should be, but we have tons of testimonials on the website.
Right.
We can give you names of people that we do every day this for, and works out great for
And
them.
you love the people who are skeptical, right?
Oh, I love proving every one of them wrong.
Stewart's American Mortgage, 314, what's the phone number?
314-324-4440.
Or stewartsamc.com.
My personal cell phone.
Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
8:30, Big 550, KTR.